How many tears? How many tears? Toastmaster Hilman.
S-E-N. S-E-N. For those of you who do not know, it means special educational needs. It is when any student requires special educational treatment as a result of being unusual. Now, this could be because of dyslexia, ADHD, or autism. Fellow Toastmasters, good evening.
Good evening.
SEN. I remember being so intrigued by the subject the first time my psychology teacher taught it in class. My eyes and ears were glued to the board. I even got the chance to work and teach with people with learning disabilities, and it was a really good experience. Ladies and gentlemen, there's two sides to every coin. There's the good, and there's the bad. And same goes for SEN. While my experience isn't that much, I'd like to take this opportunity to highlight two main things that I feel everyone in this room should know about SEN. The main problems people with SEN face, and the biggest misconception out there about SEN right now. But before I move on to those 2 points, I'd like to give some background information, and this is so that no one gets lost in this topic. First off, I will be focusing on 3 SEN, which is dyslexia, ADHD, and autism. But it's important to note that SEN isn't limited to these things, and these are very basic definitions, and they don't really cover the complexity of these 3 SENs. Dyslexia is defined as the inability to read or write at an appropriate level despite having been taught. Now, this isn't because they're slow, but rather because to them words and letters jumble up, and it's difficult for them to compute. They become baffled with words and letters. And then there's ADHD, which is defined as Attention Deficit Hyperactive Disorder, and it's when someone has difficulty maintaining attention even though there are no distractions. And then there's autism. Now, autism is defined as the inability to relate in an ordinary way to people and situations. And everyone follow? Good. Moving on to my first point. What's the big problem right now that people with SEN? To me, the problem with SEN is not that people have it, but rather that people are uneducated about it. We have tons of useful information about SEN. However, that information is not widely spread throughout the population. Because of this, people don't know how to interact or communicate with these people, and in turn, they mistreat these people with SEN, and this causes great harm to their self-esteem. Let me illustrate this point by 3 stories. I have a pen friend, who has dyslexia, and he confided in me that during math class, whenever he was told to solve a word problem on the board, he would have a difficult time. He would just stand there, lost, livid at the teacher for not understanding, embarrassed for not being able to solve the problem on the board. He would confide in me that usually after that happens, he would cry. My teacher told me a story about a friend of hers who has ADHD. During his younger days, whenever his father would tell him to do something, he would stray off in the middle of it. His father would scold him, punish him, call him names. "What's wrong with you?" he would say. He cried too. However, one story broke my heart, and I saw it with my own eyes. Mocked up duly, 2012, there was an orientation, and in the orientation, there was a talk about the only boy in school who had autism. His helper was there, leading the session, and he said, in a nonchalant, fed-up kind of voice, "This boy, he isn't normal. He's a bit crazy. If he does something wrong, please forgive him." I was shocked, baffled. But it didn't stop there. His helper then said with a very patronizing tone, "What's your dream job?" The boy, head down, mic in front of him, he mumbled, I want to be a bus manager." His helper knew that was his answer. He intended to embarrass the boy in front of the whole college. What's worse with that was that there were people behind me, snickering, laughing, mocking at the boy, going, "Ha ha, yeah." I was disgusted, enraged, distraught. Why do you think I hated college so much? I have a brother who has autism, and it takes patience. And I admit, I snap sometimes and I regret saying the things I've said before. But I would never dream of putting my brother through that kind of situation. I would never dream of anyone going through that kind of situation. Ladies and gentlemen, these are just 3 people facing the struggles of people not understanding their situation. Can you imagine the millions of people going through the same thing? How many tears have they shed because they were mistreated? It is not that SEN is not the problem. It's our ignorance. Ignorance is not bliss. That being said, what's the other side of the coin? What happens when a student with SEN graduates from school? How do they function in the workplace? Well, all I can say is, you would not believe your eyes. 10 million fireflies lit up the world as I fell asleep. The first time I heard that song, I was amazed. So light, yet so energetic, so charming. Ladies and gentlemen, did you know the singer of that song, the singer-songwriter, Adam Young of Owl City, had autism, has autism. In fact, people with special educational needs make up the most successful people out there. Business Insider created a list titled 15 CEOs with learning disabilities, and included big names, big earnings. And what's so interesting about this is that they didn't become successful because they overcame their learning difficulties, but rather because they had SEN in the first place, that they became successful. People testify that because they had SEN and they weren't so good at this, at maths, at science, at English, they focus on what they like: art, business, writing, fashion, acting, singing. And they became successful doing it. Albert Einstein, Steve Jobs, Walt Disney, Whoopi Goldberg, Jim Carrey, Adam Levine. These are only a few names with learning disadvantages. And some of these names have more than one learning difficulties. It's a curse sometimes. It's also a blessing. Ladies and gentlemen, our friends with SEN might be struggling, but we can help. If you know someone with SEN, autism, ADHD, or dyslexia, tell them this. Remind them that you will be there as a shoulder to cry on, so that they can escape their mistreatment. Remind them that their future is bright. That no matter whatever they face today is nothing compared to what they can achieve in the future. Fellow Toastmasters, we don't know how many tears these people have shed, but let's make the world a better place so that they don't have to cry anymore. Back to you, Toastmaster Lee.